Welcome back in, everyone. Let's take a look at running back ranks for week 4 of the NFL season. Now, the way I'll do this is I'll show you 5 players at a time in order that I have them. So this isn't necessarily tiers for this week. It's just the players that I like in the order that I have them. We'll put 5 on screen, we'll talk about them, and then we'll move on to the next group. So the first group of 5, Christian McCaffrey playing the Jaguars, Bijan playing the Commies, Jonathan Taylor playing the Rams, Saquon Barkley against the Bucks, and James Cook against the Saints. So James Cook is probably the highest that I've had him here, but the Saints matchup just does not scare me. I'm expecting that the Bills will be able to score basically as they see fit. I think this might be the mismatch of the year, Bills against the Saints. Jonathan Taylor, this is also pretty high for him. And even against a tough matchup like the Rams, I think I'm going to have a hard time going away from the Colts until I see a team really shut them down. Maybe this is like last year when the Saints were 2-0 and we thought, oh my gosh, Rashid Shaheed's catching every deep ball. Can Derek Carr win the MVP? Is Clint Kubiak a genius? Like, maybe that's what's happening with the Colts and we're just getting all hyped up. But I've seen Jonathan Taylor do this with multiple different bad quarterbacks and teams. So if there's one player on the Colts that I trust, it would be Jonathan Taylor. And it's going to be hard to get away from him. You're starting McCaffrey, you're starting Bijan, you're starting Saquon, even in a tough matchup against the Bucks. Next tier of running backs, next group of 5, we've got Derrick Henry playing the Chiefs, Josh Jacobs against the Cowboys, Jahmyr Gibbs playing the Browns, Kyron Williams against the Colts, and Achane against the Jets. Derrick Henry takes a little slip back. I think the Chiefs defense, if they choose to try to stop the run, they could take Derrick Henry out of this game. I don't know what the Chiefs' game plan is going to be, but I do think someone is just going to kind of disappear. Be it Mark Andrews, who disappeared in week 1 last year, Zay Flowers, or Derrick Henry, or Lamar's running. Like, something I think will get taken away. I just don't know what the game plan is here. But if I have Derrick Henry, I can't get away from him, and I wouldn't recommend that you would either. He's had 2 low weeks for him, but he hasn't looked bad necessarily. Like, the Browns held him back in their game in week 2. And then this past week in week 3, the Lions just played a lot of ball control. I don't know that the Chiefs have the pieces to hold the ball as well as the Lions did. So if I'm seeing a week for Derrick Henry to fully bounce back, to get back to that 18, 20 plus PPR points per game, this one wouldn't surprise me. Jahmyr Gibbs playing the Browns. I do worry about any player up against the Browns right now, but Gibbs, Monty, Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Goff, like they have enough pieces here. I think the Lions are a team that can score on anyone. We did see them get held back a little bit by the Packers in week 1. I think that's a combination of the Packers are also a very good defense and it's week 1. Now that they've gotten this ball rolling a little bit more, I think that they will perform better against the Browns. Kyron playing the Colts, I have no concerns about Kyron Williams. The Colts defense doesn't really scare me. And then same thing with Achane against the Jets. He might be a little bit too low here at 10. We'll see. Josh Jacobs playing the Cowboys. Man, I've seen Josh Jacobs get stuffed by the Browns. I think this is the week he gets back on track. Cowboys defense is not a big threat across the board. You can pass on the Cowboys and then you can run on them late. I think the Packers get back on track and put up a decent score against the Cowboys. Next group of running backs, I've got Bucky Irving at 11, playing the Eagles, Ashton Genty facing the Bears at 12, Breece Hall against the Dolphins, Ken Walker against the Cardinals on Thursday night, and Travis Etienne playing the 49ers. Travis Etienne, probably that one that I want to call out here. He could have, I think there is going to be plenty of weeks where he's ranked much higher, but this 49ers defense does spook me a bit. I think they can hold the Jags at bay. It would not surprise me if the Jags just had a really hard time scoring on the 49ers, and Travis Etienne is hurt by that. I also don't know how much of a role Bashal Tutin is going to have. It just keeps on expanding. So we'll see. I've got him at 15. Ken Walker on Thursday night. I'm not totally sure what the status of Zach Charbonnet is for this week. I don't have him in my top 35 here. I think what we've seen over the first 3 weeks is Ken Walker a little bit injured in going into week 1, and then week 2 and week 3, he's the guy. Charbonnet didn't play in week 3, and Ken Walker looks like good, healthy Ken Walker. Still catching passes in this offense. Really great player. Breece Hall playing the Dolphins. I really like the talent of Breece Hall, and the Dolphins defense just doesn't scare me at all. We've seen teams just slowly march up and down the field on the Dolphins. So I think this is a bounce back week. It would not surprise me if the Jets get their first win against the Dolphins. Ashton Genty playing the Bears. He's been hit a lot in the backfield. The talent is there. If you watch Ashton Genty, he looks so good. It's the ultimate, did you look at the box score or did you look at the player? Because the player is really, really good. This Bears defense is a little banged up right now, missing some of their best options in the secondary. Obviously, the secondary doesn't totally help stop the run, but if the Raiders can sustain some drives and kind of tire out the defense, Ashton Genty can get going. Next group of players, I've got J.K. Dobbins at 16 facing the Bengals, Kamara against the Bills, Jordan Mason playing the Steelers in Ireland, Omarion Hampton playing the Giants, and Chuba Hubbard against the Patriots. And I think the big one to call out here where I'm different than consensus is Jordan Mason against the Steelers. Last year when Jordan Mason was starting, he looked good in a lot of matchups. This week it's in Ireland in a weird time zone against a much better matchup. The Steelers may not be the Steelers of old, but most teams are better on defense than the Bengals. So I'm not looking to jump right into Jordan Mason again. And there's just a lot of guys that I like ahead of him that I feel safer with, like J.K. Dobbins playing the Bengals that Jordan Mason just beat up on. I think the Bengals, went home, licked their wounds, and they come back a little bit stronger. So I don't know that every team is going to be as horrible as the Bengals were last week. Just kind of a shell shock, pile it on situation that leads to 2 touchdowns for Jordan Mason. I don't think that happens with the Steelers this week. I think the Steelers can find a way to overwhelm Carson Wentz and kind of keep this offense from scoring 48 points. I mean, some of that was defensive points scoring, but same general idea. Other players here, Omarion Hampton after Najee Harris. I'm still not sure that the Chargers are going to go full in on running with Omarion Hampton. In week 1 when Najee wasn't fully ready to go, Hampton was out there a lot, but it was 14 rushing attempts, I think. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went back to something like that, where Hampton is out there a ton, but they're not quite running with him to keep him healthy, keep him going for the full game. So I would expect this game plan to go through the air with Justin Herbert. I've got Hampton at 19. I'm excited to see where this goes with him, kind of moving into the lead role. But for this week, I'm a little bit tepid. Next group of guys, Quinshon Judkins, 21 against the Lions. Pollard against the Texans at 22. Chase Brown playing the Broncos at 23. Trey Benson against the Seahawks on Thursday. And DeAndre Swift at 25 against the Raiders. DeAndre Swift, he is still the lead guy in this backfield. Kyle Monangai getting a little bit more work as he comes back fully back to health. Still no Roschon Johnson through the first 3 weeks. I'll track his injury status going into this week, but it doesn't really question. I think it's an unquestioned. DeAndre Swift is the lead back for this offense. He's just not a great player. He's the lead guy. He's okay. He's about wide running back 25 in any given week. 24, I've got Trey Benson taking over the lead role. What we saw from the Cardinals was they liked James Conner more. If I was just ranking James Conner for this week, I'd have him around running back 20. I liked Seattle's defense. I think Trey Benson is a little bit worse. I think losing James Conner and elevating everyone up a step, Trey Benson up into the lead role, Amari DiMercato or someone from a practice squad coming into that relief role just hurts the offense. I don't think there's any other way to say it. It just makes this offense worse. So I'm a little bit worried about the Cardinals. I've got Trey Benson at 24. The big name here, Chase Brown, the panic. It's a tough defensive matchup. I don't know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel for the next couple weeks. Maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a ways away for the matchups that the Bengals have. Playing the Broncos this week, I would be looking for other options if I had drafted Chase Brown. Tony Pollard, fine player, tough defense against the Texans. And then Quinshon Judkins in the lead role playing the Lions. I think the Lions have a good rushing defense. I don't know that it's as good as the Packers. And I don't know that this game plan is going to go the same way. Browns were able to stop the Packers offense. I don't expect they can stop the Lions. We might see more of Dylan Sampson in this game than we saw last week. I don't know what I'm expecting, but Quinshon Judkins, I think, is a safe play this week as the lead guy. Jerome Ford is all but gone. Judkins just keeps on getting worked in more and more. and healthier and up to NFL speed. And I don't know if there's any suspension coming anytime soon. I haven't heard any news on that. Next group of players, Javonte Williams at 26, Montgomery at 27, Scatterbo at 28, making his first career start as the lead guy. 29, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt playing the Falcons, and 30, Travion Henderson against the Panthers. I talked about this some in a TikTok video this week, kind of the trap of deciding we know what coaches want to do. So I'm talking about Travion Henderson in this situation. The news media right now saying Ramondre Stevenson fumbled. Surely they'll go to Travion Henderson. They did in the fourth quarter. We don't know that. We don't get to pick the usage. If they go back to Ramondre Stevenson and we're just kind of stuck there, confused on Sunday, that wouldn't surprise me. Now, if I knew it was Travion Henderson for sure starting with Ramondre Stevenson in a backup role and Antonio Gibson stuck only to kick returns, yeah, Henderson would be way higher. I like this Panthers matchup, but I don't know what's going to happen. And there's a ton of guys ahead of him that I just feel safer about. Like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, also same idea. We decided he was the lead role. Sunday comes around and it's Chris Rodriguez. So I've got him at 29, same kind of concept. I don't feel that way about Cam Scatterbo. I just worry about the Chargers. I mean, maybe it's Devin Singletary, the first guy out there, and maybe it's a 50-50 split. I'm not sure. If I could start David Montgomery over any one of those guys, even in a rough matchup, I would be. And then Javonte Williams playing the Packers. This might even be a little bit high. I would not surprise me if the Packers just clobbered the Cowboys on Sunday night. Final group of players, Jaylen Warren traveling overseas to play the Vikings, RJ Harvey playing the Bengals, Isaiah Pacheco against the Ravens, and then I've got Charbonnet and Bashal Tutin here. I'll double check on Charbonnet if he's playing. Tutin is at 35. Let's kind of get a gauge of what his role becomes against the 49ers. That's a tough matchup. Other players of note here, Jaylen Warren, you might think I'm a little bit low on him. I really like the Vikings defense, and it's a game overseas, so I don't know what's going to happen in those games. Sometimes we see a little bit of weird stuff happening. If I can get away from Jaylen Warren, I am. And then RJ Harvey is moving into a larger role with the Broncos, playing against the Bengals. I love that matchup. That could be a great spot for a coach to get their guy going, but I don't want to try to guess what a coach is going to do. So I've got Harvey at 32. It wouldn't surprise me if RJ Harvey jumps up into the 20s next week after this game based on the usage that we see. But until I see it, I'm going to be worried about starting him. So those are my top running back options for this week. I'll put links on screen for quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends. We will have a full slew of rankings this week. If you found this useful, hit like, hit subscribe. If you're not, thank you very much.